All right, guys, I'm gonna give everybody just a couple minutes to join, and then if you have tickers that you want me to look at, post them in a chat, and we can go over those. I'm just getting some final touches on my watch list and kind of what I want to cover with you guys going into this week. One moment. Okay, Intel, Palantir, QQQ. Cool. I can do that. Just get some stuff pulled up here. Okay. All right. So, okay, Google, Intel, Palantir, and QQQ. Okay. All right. I got a good list that we can get started with. Oh yeah, okay. I was missing one on my watch list here.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So let's see here. Let's get started. I'll let everybody know that we're getting started and then we're gonna go here. Yeah, Nvidia does have earnings, but that's not going to overtake the market, right? It'll have some effect, and we can go over that. Okay. Okay. So for the market, make sure to post your questions if you have them in the chat. All right, let's get started. So basically here, what we're looking at is go to QQQ, or sorry, SPY. We'll start with SPY first. So first things first, we have a squeeze, right? Weekly squeeze on the on SPY and QQQ. We had a huge gap up last week, and then pretty choppy price action following that. So if we just kind of take a look at what's going on here, we're up outside of 2 ATR. So typically that's going to lead to a mean reversion. We can look at this from a little different perspective here. We'll throw on 3 ATR. You can kind of look at that. Yeah, so we're hanging out right outside of 3 ATR or at 3 ATR, right? So you can see like every time we popped out of 3 ATR, we head back to the mean. 3 ATR, head back to the mean. 3 ATR, back to the mean. 3 ATR, back to the mean. 3 ATR, back to the mean. So now we're hanging out here at 3 ATR, right? Probably not a whole lot of upside left. Let's just take a look at it because I have not looked at the futures markets tonight. Okay, we're pretty much flat. So when looking at this, looking at the where we sit, we can kind of expect either some sideways consolidation or a pullback to the mean. So that's kind of my initial thoughts looking at the market right now. But if we go look at the lower time frames, things still look good. Like they're still intact. We had a 30-minute squeeze, which we played with the chat. We got in right around here on Friday, sold here on just later that day for a day trade. So, I mean, the market still looks intact. Like the 30-minute looks okay. The 1 hour looks okay. We have a squeeze. We've got momentum. But at the same time, do we really want to start loading the boat long here? Not really. So that's kind of the perspective we have to have here. So like if you're going to play upside, play it light. Really, it's a moment in time where you kind of want to just sit on your hands and not try to get too active in terms of directional calls in the market, because we can certainly continue up, but you got about a 50-50 shot there. It's not a great risk to reward either from sitting up here. So that's kind of the first view. The next view is just to keep it simple, any kind of pullback we get in the market, I'm looking to buy. Reason being is because if, as you can see, we've got this weekly squeeze, we're swinging to the upside. I wouldn't be surprised if we retraced back into this 1 ATR zone and then kind of made our move. Perfect scenario, right, would be if we pull back and bounced at this level here, right around that 440, beautiful place to pick up longs and take it back into that 52-week high. Now, notice something. The two ATR bands on the weekly time frame actually line up perfectly with all time or 52-week highs here. So that's definitely something to keep note of. And a very easy target for us to look at initially to the upside. And let's see here. So that's SPY, right? So, and my view is going to be the same on pretty much everything here. And we'll cover some internals as well. But so NASDAQ, you can see we're trying to tap that 52-week high. Couldn't do it last week. We were about like 10 cents off or so. So I think my opinion is that the NASDAQ will probably go see that high before seeing a retracement, but we definitely need to see a retracement here at some point. And I think that is also a buying opportunity as well for the NASDAQ. So if we pull back here, I'm looking to buy the dip and play that to the upside as well. So that's kind of my view here. And I think that my same point of view as I've talked to you guys about for weeks, really months. This was just a bull flag with a squeeze. We're shifting momentum now. So easy targets is that 2 ATR, and then which lines up with 52-week highs. And then obviously that all-time highs is kind of the next stop for this. And I think this is going to happen. Let's see, we're kind of towards the end of November. So I would think probably by February of next year, I wouldn't be surprised to see this or a new 52-week high with before the end of the year for NASDAQ. I think by the end of Q1 next year, definitely by Q2, I think we will have a 52-week high, and I think we're gonna have a pretty strong bull run in the next year or two. We just got to see when that kind of kickstarts, but I personally do think it's starting to kickstart here. So that's kind of my opinion with that. Also, if you take a look at the monthly time frame, you can see we're in a monthly squeeze. It's fired off. SPY has yet to fire off. You can see we bounced perfectly off that 21. We have momentum shifting to the upside, and we've got 2 ATR at that 52-week highs. So that's an easy first target. If we go look at the last time we had a squeeze fire off, it was post-COVID, and you can kind of see the move that we had after that. So this was a continued run basically from July of 2020 to December of 2021. So it was about a year and a half of upside, and SPY moved about almost, what is that, 50%, from around 310 to 475. So it was a really healthy move, right? And so I'm kind of expecting that same thing to happen. And you can kind of see here all these different monthly timeframe squeezes that have played out on the S&P 500 and kind of how we've ran as a result. So here's an example. Here's another example. And you can kind of just see how these bull runs kind of happen and form. And really what gets us going is kind of that monthly squeeze. And right now we have a weekly squeeze that could kind of trigger this monthly squeeze. So same perspective on that. For the dollar, or sorry, this is the rates. So when this moves higher, ZB, this is the futures for T-bond rates. So if this moves higher, then that basically just means that rates are going down. If this moves lower, rates are going up. Now you can see what happened as of recent. We had a weekly squeeze. You can see It was clear as day that I was going to fire to the downside, and that's kind of what pushed us to all-time highs on rates. If you want to have a different look at it, you can look at TNX, which is the same thing. You can see weekly squeeze fired off to the upside, and that's why we had such a huge move in rates as of recent. Now we're starting to roll over, and I'm thinking that this is kind of the end. We've seen the high for rates, definitely, well, in my opinion, for this year, and I think we might start to reverse. You can kind of see here inverse head and shoulders, and this is also a good thing for the markets as well. If rates go lower, market usually moves higher, so that's a good thing because people, if rates are lower, they want to put their money in something that's going to give them the best return. So they start funneling their money into the markets, right? And that's kind of why we've seen such a nice upside move as of recent, also because everyone has been short. Now, if we look at here, you can see put call ratio. I've been talking about this for months. We had it above 1, caused this short covering rally that happened as of recent. We've started to kind of float towards normal territory. I expect this to come down to 0.8, which will give us some more upside for the time being. But this is a longer perspective on the market. And then let's go over the dollar lastly, and then I'll kind of go over my watch list. Dollar, we've been spot on in terms of what we were thinking the markets were going to do in terms of the dollar. I told you guys on this week here, that the dollar was going to start to kind of roll over because we're losing momentum on the weekly after a weekly squeeze, and we were forming a bearish squeeze on the dollar on the daily time frame, which complements the loss of bullish momentum on the weekly time frame. And you can kind of see the sell-off that we've had so far. Right now, we're kind of sitting near that daily 200 EMA. So we might find some support here. I mean, you can see what SPY did. Once it got to that 200 EMA, it kind of bounced, retraced, and then ultimately reclaimed it. We can probably see something somewhat similar, but I do think we've seen similar to the bonds. It's going to be similar. The dollar is going to move pretty much in tandem with the interest rates. So I think this has more continued downside, and I don't think, obviously this is an early call, but I do think that rally is most likely over in the dollar. So that will put some relief on stocks as well. Check and see if we got questions. Nope. Looks like we're good. Okay. So that's that. That's kind of what I'm looking for in terms of the dollar, all that good stuff. VIX hasn't been too important in this market, but I do want to note this kind of like, you can't really ignore this falling wedge type pattern that's forming right down at -2 ATR. So beware of this. We're right at kind of this demand zone. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a bounce back to this area, the 21 EMA, right around $16. It would kind of line up for the weekly time frame as well as the daily time frame. So I wouldn't be surprised if this kind of kicks off a reversion to the mean. So if you see the VIX starting to push upside, it's pretty oversold. We're losing momentum on the squeeze. I wouldn't be surprised if we started to sell off here soon and revert it back to the mean for the VIX, but also SPY kind of have some sort of reversion to the mean. So initially, like for a day trading perspective, I think for like we'll go to this chart here, like the 30-minute here, I think that obviously we can keep going. The market wants to do whatever it wants, but I think that if we start to roll over here, I think that what I think is we can come probably tap this high again, maybe make a 52-week high on QQQ, and then like liquidate all the stops that were put here or just above the 52-week high, and then we start to roll over and move back to that 21 EMA on the daily time frame. So that's kind of my thoughts going into this week, what I think is somewhat likely to happen. And then we can go look at kind of the key stocks. We'll look at those top 7 here. And we'll do that here. So you can see the weekly and stuff. So daily time frame, Tesla looks decent. Looks like it might want to start to turn around here. I wouldn't be surprised if we went and saw 250 here pretty soon. Maybe this week. I think that's pretty possible. It's got a 30-minute squeeze, so let's check that out real quick. Doesn't look good, but we'll see. This one's kind of been a laggard as of recent. We'll see if it shapes up, but right now I wouldn't trade this. It's got a daily squeeze that fired off, but I wouldn't trade it just because the chart's sloppy, right? The EMAs aren't stacked, all that good stuff. Apple, same thing with the market. We had a weekly squeeze. We had this bull flag, falling wedge type deal. I wouldn't be surprised. I've got to buy the dip order or alert set here. So if we can get a pullback down in here, anywhere in this one ATR, I think it's a good call to go long Apple here. For a longer term perspective to go to first, probably that $200 target is where you'd want to go. But I'm not going to buy it up here. It's obviously extended, right? So I do like Apple on a pullback. Maybe we hit that daily 21. Looks like an easy place to pick it up. NVIDIA. I like NVIDIA. We played this one last week. But I want to see a pullback on this one. If we can get back to that, maybe earnings will give us this opportunity, but I do like NVIDIA too. It's pretty much all the same. Like all these top 7 are going to be the same. That I like them for upside and I will buy a pullback. Amazon's probably my favorite right now. And if we can get back to this 140 area, I'd really like to pick up Amazon for a swing to 150, which would be about that 52-week high. And then I'd expect us to continue to trend up. And you may not notice this if you don't look at the higher time frame charts, but look at this beauty. We got an inverse head and shoulders forming here. So I think we could see a pretty significant reversal. So I do like Amazon. I think that if we get above that 150, we could really rip to the upside and probably hit that 170 area. So I really do like Amazon. That's probably my favorite setup going into this week. And this is on my watch list. Another reason that I really like this setup is because we have a 4-hour squeeze. So if we can get a pullback, I'd like to buy a pullback on this name and play this 4-hour squeeze as well. So Amazon's top on my watch list, but I'm kind of just showing the top 7 here. Microsoft or Meta, Microsoft, Google, same story. I want to see momentum shift in Google, but the rest of them look good to buy on a pullback. And then as for my actual like watch list going into this week, I like, hold on, I'm going to throw, because I don't have it on here for some reason, the 200, because I like to see that on charts. Throw that one on there. Okay. So as for my actual watch list, some names that I really like going into this week. So Amazon, I just talked about. That's probably my top watch list stock here. You can see we're above that 200 EMA. And yeah, it just looks really good. Another name that I like, these small energy names are starting to look really attractive in terms of upside. I mean, the overall energy space like XLE does not look that great, but there's certain names within this sector that look really good. Like, and WMB is probably my favorite out of them. You can see we've got a clean squeeze, we've got buy signals, we've got stacked EMAs. We're right near that 52-week high, which lines up with 2 ATR on the daily time frame. And not to mention, we also have a weekly squeeze. And then if you want to flip through these other time frames, we've got a clean 2-day squeeze. We've got a clean 3-day squeeze. And I believe the 4-day looks great as well. Yeah, we've got literally everything, a ton of time frames aligning on this one. So this one is beautiful. I'm probably going to pick it up tomorrow. I do like this for alongside or upside going to the next few weeks slash months, I think we can go tag that 38 price level pretty easily. I think that, nope, that's not the 50 or the all-time high, but I do think we can go tag that pretty quickly here. And then next, AI. This one looks like it's starting to shift and turn into an uptrend. We've got earnings coming up in beginning of December. We just had a daily squeeze fire off. We've lost momentum, oversold, and you can kind of see here we're making higher highs and higher lows here. This one looks pretty good. Definitely not my favorite. I'd probably move it down to the bottom of the list, but this one does look pretty good for upside, in my opinion. Definitely, like I said, not my favorite, but I do like this reversal pattern. I like that we're back above the 21. We've got a lot of support right around here between the EMAs. And also you can see it's kind of a demand zone as well. We had a break, retest, and now we're kind of creating higher highs and higher lows. I think if you can get a pullback here at this 8 EMA, pretty easy move to $31. Foot Locker. So there's a bunch of random names, like retail names that look pretty good. One of them being Urban Outfitters. This name looks good. It's clean up trend. You can see that. So like if you just take a look at these random like retail clothing brands, they all are pretty good. TJX had bad, or they had earnings and it kind of gapped down. But besides that, like we've got good looking names like Urban Outfitters. Let's see, what's some other ones that I was keeping an eye on. Foot Locker is one of them that I've been watching, or that I like going into this week. Let's go back to that chart. I think we could see some sort of reversal on this one. We've got a gap to fill. Oh no, we filled that gap. But we've got a little gap to fill right here as well. So I do like that. We have earnings coming up, so we could see a run into earnings, and maybe it's time we go retest that 200 EMA. So this one looks pretty good. Let's take a look at these other ones like KSS. You can see here, Kohl's catching a bid, getting bought up. This one looks pretty good as well. And just kind of names like this. I can't remember the other ones that I was looking at off the top of my head, but names like these look good. And I think we could see some decent upside. Foot Locker being my favorite name out of this space. And I'm watching some upside on that one as well. And then Bitcoin stocks starting to look pretty decent here. I think we've got resistance here right around this area, but we've got momentum lost on the weekly time frame. We're oversold. You can see here we're right near that 200 EMA. So I'd be surprised if we don't go tag it. And the 4 hour looks great. We're coming up to meet that resistance there at the 21 EMA. So I do think this one could have a nice move upside. Let's see. Earnings was nothing special. But yeah, I think this one looks good. It looks like it's starting to form a base and could start to make a reversal here. So I do like this name, and I think we could see upside. Coin has already started its run and has continued to run. This one looks good on a pullback as well. Back to this 1 ATR area, we've got a weekly squeeze. So yeah, I think this name looks pretty good. It's testing that $100 level. Riot, let's look at this one. This one looks okay. It just, in my opinion, doesn't look as good as Mara. And I can't remember. There's not really other names that you look at in this space. Hut maybe would be one. And this one doesn't look good. So really it's just Mara, I think, in my opinion, this or coin that you'd play to the upside, and it could have a nice move upside. So those are kind of the names on my watch list in terms of daily time frame trades that I could take. Okay, so let's look at some of the tickers you guys are asking me to go over. If you have stocks you want me to look at, I can go over those. Oh, someone. Okay, so let's see. Google. Google, I think, is going to follow the rest of the market. I think it looks good. I think it's gearing up to go back to that 52-week high. I'd like to see a daily squeeze form here and then take this one upside or even a 4 hour. And I would look to take this one. It might happen this week where we get a 4 hour squeeze to play to the upside. So that one looks good. Let's see here. So yeah, that's kind of just easy explanation on Google. I think if you want to play the weekly time frame, it's not a bad idea to get in now. You just got to hold it for a longer period of time. But I think this one looks good to head back to like that 145 area, to ATR. ITNC. Um, wow. What happened with this one? Jeez, I missed this one. Okay, so you can see here, this one just had a clean uptrend. It was basically weekly time frame, 2 ATR back to the mean, 2 ATR back to the mean, 2 ATR back to the mean. And then now we've just ripped. I'm not totally sure what kind of set this off, but this one looks great. I mean, there's nothing to do with it here. I'm not going to touch it up here. There's a 30-minute squeeze, so maybe you could do something with that. This would be a pure momentum play, not really a quality entry play. But yeah, the move was missed on this one, but it was a really nice move upside. Yeah. What does MU look like? Because the chart looks similar to that one. Yeah, this one's breaking out as well. Looks pretty good. Definitely not as good as Mara, but this one had a great. This one looks great as well. Yeah, there's just nothing to do up here. Palantir. Okay. This one looks good. It looks just like the market, but I'm not going to buy it up here. I'd need to see a pullback, and I'd play this weekly squeeze, or I'd wait for a lower time frame squeeze to play that. But this one looks good for upside. Strong momentum, but we're at 2 ATR on the weekly time frame, so it's not an ideal place to get in. So I'd wait for a lower time frame entry to trade this one to the upside. Ross, Macy's. I think Ross is ROST. Yep. Yeah, see this name looks really good as well. Weekly squeeze, buy signal. It looks like it crushed earnings and had a big move up. So maybe on a pullback, I'd catch this one. But yeah, this one looks good. I mean, it's right near, is that all-time highs? Yeah, this one could be heading to all-time highs pretty easily, right around 134. So I would look for dip buys on this one. I'll keep this one on my watch list as well. It looks really good, actually, especially after good earnings. Where are these tickers coming from? There are people posting them in the chat, and I'm going over them. Macy's. Yeah, similar. So this kind of just complements the whole idea that I've kind of articulated with Foot Locker. All these retail names like Urban Outfitters, Ross, Macy's, Kohl's, all these names, they're catching a bid. All these retail names are having good earnings and are gapping up and just starting to go on a run. So it's kind of something you want to pay attention to when all these names are running. And it could be seasonality. Like if you think about it, Christmas is coming up. People think it's a good idea to start buying stuff, but it doesn't really affect it. They just typically start to catch a bid during this time of the year because it's Christmas. People are buying gifts and stuff. They a lot of times go to these stores, so people think it's a good idea to trade these names. Doesn't make a lot of sense because the results don't show up until the next quarter's earnings, but it's just the way the market works. BTBT. I don't think this name is liquid. Yeah, this one doesn't. It looks like it's forming a base, but I'm not gonna get in the middle of this chop, so I wouldn't trade this one. It just looks like it's dead in the water. It's not. It's not really an interesting place to trade. Um, Sebi, you can see where these tickers coming from. Okay. I think because of that's what I was saying, because of Christmas. A lot of people like to start looking at those names, and that's kind of why I'm looking at Foot Locker. I typically like to look at those names during this kind of holiday season, I guess. And I like trading stocks that have to do with Christmas. It makes the season more fun, I guess. Um, FedEx, yeah, this name looks good as well. Um, yeah, this could be a good long trade. I like this one. You could pick this up and play the weekly time frame and look for it to head back to 270. Let's add that to my watch list. That one looks pretty good. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on that one. Uh Crowd. Same thing here. He kind of just missed the boat. Um there was a clean weekly or daily squeeze here. Right around, is this the daily time frame? Yeah. Right around here. I mean, it was more of a 4 hour type play. Um Man, what time frame was I looking at when I was watching this stock here? When the momentum turned, you had a small pullback. Here was the entry, and then it kind of just ripped. Same thing, weekly squeeze. You can kind of see the power of these weekly squeezes here if you take a step back and look at the weekly time frame. I know a lot of people don't have the patience to do that, but it really help your trading if you do. Like if you look at this, all these names that have exploded, they're all coming from weekly squeezes. INTC, weekly squeeze, MU, weekly squeeze, Ross, weekly squeeze. All you gotta do is just have the moment or the patience to play them. When I first started trading, I traded just I straight up traded weekly squeezes and worked out really well. I'm gonna start doing it more often now because I enjoy the uh, low maintenance it requires and how massive of moves you catch as a result. Um, so many stocks on Watchlist BR. Which ones to play? I don't have many on my watch list here. I have Amazon, WMB, Foot Locker, and Mara. Those are my main watch. Amazon, WMB, Foot Locker, and Mara. They're all in different sectors. So those are my watch lists. I'm just going over other people's stocks that they want me to look at. Yeah, I'm definitely still bullish. I mean, don't be surprised if you see a pullback in the next week or so, next couple weeks. But yeah, I'm definitely still bullish for the long term. Uh Sounds like, yeah, too many. um BA. Let's see here. Yeah, there's nothing to do with this one. I don't like it. Ugly chart, nothing to play here. Uh so I don't really have an opinion on this one. There's no weekly squeeze, there's nothing really. Maybe if you want to go to drill down to that 2 hour, look at that one. Maybe you could play this one upside, but I just don't love the chart that much. So personally, I would not play this one. It's right at 200 S or EMA. for resistance or resistance. But so, all right, guys. So that's kind of what we're looking at. TKO. there's I don't see anything to do here besides potentially short it on a pop. As of right now, we're down at 2 ATR, so I probably would just leave this one alone for now. But yeah, guys. All right. So just to recap real quick, main ones on my watch list here. I'm watching Amazon for upside. I like to buy a dip on this one, whether it's to play the weekly or the 4-hour squeeze. We're squeezing on a lot of different time frames, so this thing is setting up for another move. So I'd like that. WMB, this is an energy stock. I like this name to the upside to catch a move to around that 3650 area. Foot Locker, in terms of retail names, I like this one for a run into earnings long. And first, I'd be looking for 2350, and then that gap fill at 2450. Lastly, Mara. This one's starting to reverse. This one's not as good looking as the other three, but this one, I think you could see a pop up to that 200 SMA or EMA or that $11 price target. So I do like that one as well. But all right, guys, thank you guys for coming. And if you have questions, just DM me in the chat. If you're interested in joining our signals chat, we post all of our trades. That's where we caught SPY for 80% the other day on Friday. And yeah, we have a good community of guys in there and girls where we talk about trading, ask questions, talk about our strategies, give our alerts, all that good stuff. So thank you guys for coming. Have a good rest of your night, and I will see you for the markets tomorrow.